This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com. And today, as my special guests, it's two people at once, the House of Heathen, Teal Piper and Deimos, her new fiance, actually, not just her partner in House of Heathen. So congratulations to you two.
Thank you. Thanks for having us again.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and this is not only airing on the Hannibal TV, on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, but it's also airing on SWE Fury's YouTube channel. And later in this interview, we are going to be giving away a T-shirt to a lucky fan, one of these lovely SWE Fury T-shirts. So make sure you guys get ready to answer a question correctly. But let's get into your relationship. How did you guys meet?
Well, we actually met at LA Fan Fest last year, before time, before the plague and the riots. But so we met there. I was about to get my knee operated on, and then he had just had his neck worked on, and about 3 days after my surgery, coronavirus happened and the world shut down. So we started quarantining together and hanging out, and
one thing led to another.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So you guys, I guess the relationship actually evolved faster due to this whole situation because you guys were kind of stuck quarantining together.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Deimos, as far as your wrestling background, I know you've been wrestling since about 2005. We didn't really get into how you got started in the business during our last interview. Could you tell us a little bit about your training? I think you were trained by Rusty Brooks, who wrestled Hulk Hogan famously. Or is that false?
That's false.
Okay.
Actually, I was broken into the business by Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. So whoever wrote that on your Wikipedia.
It's a weird Googleable thing. I don't know.
I actually interviewed Nikolai Volkov, luckily about a year before he died, which was so sad. Could you tell us a little bit about that training? He seemed like a really good guy.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. Much larger than I was expecting when I first met him. Actually, how I met him was interesting. So I was just pursuing pro wrestling straight out of college. Like, I went to Oxford University over in England. My plane landed back in the States, and the very next day I was looking for somewhere to train. I went to one school that no one's ever heard of, and it lasted like 6 months. But they didn't even have a wrestling ring, and I paid my full tuition, and about 3 or 4 weeks into it, I ended up quitting and leaving. Walking around the mall one day, bumped into Nikolai Volkov, and he offered to train me. So I went out to his ring in his backyard, where he lived, and he literally didn't tell me anything. He just picked me up and slammed me down and taught me my first bump, and went on from there.
Wow, that's very interesting. As I wipe the protein off my beard here, did he? What was like some of the most important lessons Nikolai taught you during your training?
Honestly, which I guess has proven itself to this day, is he would always try to teach me to do moves that I could do throughout the duration of my career without too much wear and tear on my body. He always used to make comments saying that he would tell Hogan to stop doing the leg drop because it's going to mess his hips up. And sure enough, he had to get both his hips replaced. So like that was probably the most crucial piece of information he ever gave me, advice-wise, was to make sure that whatever I do on a normal basis in my move list, so to speak, is to think long-term on wear and tear on my body and my spine and joints and stuff.
Were you surprised that he passed away before the Iron Sheik? Because I met him again like a couple months before he died, and he was talking to me about how concerned he was for the Iron Sheik's health. But here we are 3 years later, and somehow the Sheik is still alive.
I think the Sheik runs off of rage and hatred. If he stopped hating people, he would probably pass away.
Yeah.
It motivates him.
Did you ever know the Sheik much, Teal, when you were growing up? Did you ever have any encounters with him?
I really didn't. I met him briefly when my dad was inducted in the Hall of Fame. He was getting inducted as well that year, I believe, or he was speaking for someone. I can't remember, but I met him briefly then. Didn't understand a word the guy said, but seemed super nice.
Now, I know you guys train together now, and you're also training in Florida, but who actually trained you how to wrestle, Teal?
Honestly, Deimos has been training me the most. I started before I met him at Wow Women of Wrestling. Obviously, they shut down when everyone else shut down, and at that point, I had just met Deimos, and he's been training people and working in this business a long time. So he's really took me under his wing and helped me develop myself.
And right now, you guys are training in Florida. Is there a certain school you guys are working with there?
I train at this one. Well, two. I train at one facility where it's called FTW in Largo. It's an awesome place. And then every once in a while, we train up in Orlando at Pro Wrestling 2.0.
And what brought you guys to Florida? Just all the craziness that's going on right now in LA?
Well, yeah, I mean, LA has just been completely shut down, like a ghost town for this entire time. And we came out to Florida to train for like 2 or 3 weeks because everything here was open. So we're like, why don't we just go there for a while? And then once we got here, we were like, LA's not going to be opening for 2021 either. So the lease was up and we thought, screw it, and just came out here where we can work more.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your wrestling career, Deimos, could you tell us a bit about where you went after your training? I know you spent some time in some companies that fans will be familiar with, but I'm not sure the order.
Oh man, I'm all over the place. I guess I started wrestling. Technically, I broke in and started in North Carolina. I think. Oh man, what was the name of that company? I don't know. It was a small company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I started it. Nikolai actually used to take me to. And then from there, I actually started to get booked as an extra and dark match guy often for WWE, Raw and SmackDown whenever they were local or around within driving distance. And then that led to an opportunity for me to go train at OVW and start doing a couple shows there. And I guess when I had my run there, I decided that it was best to move down to Florida for FCW, and I trained there. Geez, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, and I started doing shows. Things didn't really pan out too well. And during all this, I'm still doing like a lot of extra work and also just dark match stuff and working on a consistent basis with WWE. Then that didn't pan out too well. Ended up just picking up and moving to Japan. Wrestled for 0-1 over in Japan for about a year. Came back, worked for NWA and a lot of the local circuits, just doing the dark match thing everywhere. And then where was I? Then I started doing stuff more consistently when NXT launched, and again, Raw, SmackDown, stuff like that. Ended up kind of getting my feet into the European market. Wrestled over in Europe in Athens, Greece, Rome, Italy, all over UK. Then eventually made my way to Impact Wrestling, and I was there for maybe in talks with them, working with them, doing darks and stuff like that, trying to figure out an angle and where to go and what to do. And then I broke my neck, so it's just been a roller coaster ride of a career so far, trying to figure out where I can plant my feet in the ground.
For FCW, were you paying to train there, or was that under development contract?
Not under development contract. John Laurinaitis had told me that he wanted me to come down there and just train with them, and that's what I did. I was sent down there to train with them. I wasn't FCW contracted talent. I was just there training and doing shows there.
I noticed on Facebook that you're friends with a common friend of mine, also TJ Wilson. Would you have met him during your time in FCW?
Did I what?
Did you meet him during your time in FCW?
Oh yeah, I've known Tyson Kidd for some time. I met him there. We've always been okay, pretty decent friends. You know, we had dinners here and there. You know, he's always tried to critique my matches and things like that, or give me advice or whatever, or just somebody to vent to every once in a while.
And Teal, the promoter of SWE Fury wanted me to ask you if you happened to see the clip of your dad doing a Piper's Pit with Kevin Von Erich on one of the first SWE Fury shows.
You know, I don't actually think I've seen that, but I would like to. If you have a link or something.
Yeah, it's on their YouTube channel for people that want to check it out. It's pretty cool to see. Teal, for the fans that may not have seen your first interview watching on the SWE Fury channel, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the companies you've worked for? I know you appeared in AEW, Women of Wrestling, all over the United States before this injury gave you a little setback.
Yeah, well, you know, once I got into wrestling and started training, I immediately blew out my knee. So that was fun. And then with that, still figuring out what to do about that situation is when I ended up doing All Out with AEW. That was sort of a one-off deal, which was very exciting because seeing as I had never been in the ring to perform before. So, you know, that was a very exciting start to everything. At which point I just went back to filming for WoW Women of Wrestling. When they shut down during COVID is when I started sort of branching out more as far as training and, you know, looking more into indie shows and things like that to try to, you know, get a better sense of working and you know, get myself out there and grow as a talent. So it's kind of where we're at. Now we're in Tampa.
What was that AEW experience like, being on one of their first events? And
you know, it was pretty surreal. I mean, obviously, a lot of wrestlers, you know, would work very hard to get to places like that. So I felt very humble and you know, honored to get to start my career at something like that. You know, it was just surreal. It was an arena my dad had worked in before, so that was very much in my mind the whole time. You know, so it was kind of emotional for me, but it was a good experience all in all, and I learned a lot. Yeah.
And how did it come about that you guys were training with Ronda Rousey? We discussed it a bit in the last interview, but the SWE Fury people wanted me to bring this up. I know Deimos was actually helping her with her pro wrestling at one point, and you guys go back through the connection with your father. But is there anything in particular that you guys grew with through training with her?
You know, for me, she was always very supportive once I injured my knee, because obviously it's kind of devastating when you're starting out. And, you know, she had similar injuries in the past. And so she was telling me all the things she could help me with, that like to work on while I'm recovering my knee. So we started talking about that. And then she, you know, like any athlete, wants to stay in shape, wants to train. You know, you're always looking for somewhere to you know, get your shit in. And that's when Michael found us a ring, and, you know, Deimos found us a ring, and we all just started working together basically. You know, I have a lot to learn, you know, you have to get that ring rust off you. And yeah, so there wasn't really any, you know, end goal with that other than we're just all friends, wanted to train, everything was shut down, and we found a ring. Yeah.
Very cool. And Deimos, for your time in OVW, who was running OVW at that time? Was that still
Danny Davis and Ray Ramsey?
Okay. And what was that experience like? I guess Rip Rogers probably was still around there too.
Here and there. You know, it was not that common. I came towards a weird time there. It was towards the end of their run / the beginning of when TNA kind of went in there and started using them as developmental. So I was towards the end of when WWE was still paying attention to them. Honestly, the only I guess, program and feud that I had there was with Brad Maddox. I guess he was Beef Wellington back then. We had a fun little run with him. I met him when he was an extra at WWE alongside me, and our relationship grew and ended up getting me to go there, and had a title run, feud with him, and then OVW kind of shut down.
Now, Brad Maddox was the guy from the Page sex tape, right?
Yes, that's him.
What was your reaction knowing him when you saw that come out?
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. Let's put it that way.
Sadly, I think he took the main loss over that because the other two ended up.
It was fine.
Yeah, nothing happened. So, did you get your Impact jobs through your work with OVW?
No, actually, I had a couple people that I was close friends with. I was mildly frustrated with how things weren't going with WWE at the time. I kept trying, and it just wasn't working. So I thought the best option was to take time away from constantly being in their face and go somewhere else, try to, I guess, reinvent myself and maybe see what happens from there. I had some friends that at the time were working for Impact, and they asked me if I wanted to come out and try it, and I went out there and I tried it. I felt like I did well until I injured myself. I can't really say much because I didn't get an opportunity to really do anything there. I was only there for just a few matches really, and that's about it. Then I got hurt.
Yeah, you broke your neck, as you mentioned. How did that happen exactly, and what was the recovery like? Because a lot of people won't go back in the ring after something like that.
Yeah, well, it wasn't scary until maybe a week afterwards, because when I broke it, I didn't quite realize it was broken. I just thought something was very much wrong.
Even though you were partially paralyzed.
Yeah,
How do you?
I guess your brain tries to tell you best case scenario. So, and I went to the emergency room, and they also, at the particular hospital I went to, did not tell me I had a broken neck. They told me I had a muscle spasm in my neck. So just to give me muscle relaxers and go home. And the pain was just too much. Eventually, through trial and tribulation, I found a surgeon who gave me a proper MRI and an assessment and told me that my neck was very severely broken. And
it exploded.
Yeah, my C4 and C5 had exploded, and they couldn't understand how I was not completely paralyzed.
Someone on here is asking, did you get a stinger? Did you feel a stinger when that happened?
On my right side, yeah. My right side was like a sharp pain, and then it just went numb, paralyzed. Yeah.
So what's the recovery on something like that? I guess they had to rebuild the discs.
They replaced them with titanium ones. So they'd open my neck up, and they'd take these special tools and take out all the bone fragments and all that stuff, and then they replaced them with titanium artificial discs in my neck. And I guess the recovery time is whenever my nerves decide to reactivate completely.
So you're still feeling some of the effects of it?
I'm at about 80%. Like I'm no longer in pain. I have full range of motion. For the most part, I'm back in the gym training, back in the ring training. But there's times when I realize that my right arm is still significantly weaker than my left.
Wow. So I guess you have to go through a special rehab program then.
Still am.
Wow.
It's still a process, yeah. Nerves are the longest part of the body to heal.
Does it hurt more when you take bumps after?
My neck locks up a little bit when I take bumps. My arm only really bothers me. My shoulder only really bothers me when I'm lifting heavy for that arm. But honestly, the pain isn't really an issue. It's just getting my body to listen to me and react the way it's supposed to.
Omar on here wants to know if Ronda Rousey taught you guys any MMA holds when you were training with her.
She showed me a couple arm bars, and more than anything, she just judo threw me around that whole ring.
Now, I understand you know Lacey Von Erich a little bit, Teal, and of course, she's going to be on that February 27th event.
Yeah, I love Lacey. She's a good friend of mine.
Could you talk to us a bit about that friendship and how it developed?
Yeah, originally I met her through Brooke Hogan. We were, I'm good friends with Brooke, and at the time we were working on a project, and she brought in Lacey Von Erich and Brittany Page. So we spent like a whole week of us all just hanging out, getting to know each other, and we just became good friends. Everyone kind of lives everywhere now, but they're definitely all people I still talk to.
So SWE Fury, you guys, from what I understand, are going to be on the February 27th event in Carthage, Texas, as well as the March 20th in Canton. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did you guys hear about SWE? It's obviously one of the big up and coming leagues. It's got TV in something like 35 million homes now. It's probably a great place for you guys to join.
Well, honestly, I had been hearing about it I'm very, very close friends with Mark Henry. He's like a mentor to me, and also Teddy Long. And I had been hearing them talk about it, very highly about it, speak very great about it. And then it just so happened that a friend of mine who is also starting on that show, I think Akbar Farhat is the name he goes by there. He's debuting there, and he came into Tampa. We were working out. He brought it up, and I was like, man, that's that place that Mark Henry and Teddy Long keep talking about. I think it's time for us to like reach out and talk business and shoot one message out to Tom, and rest is history. Mark Henry and Teddy Long kind of got together, and we all talked about what we wanted to do, and they brought us in.
So what can the SWE Fury fans expect as far as this House of Heathens faction that you guys have? Could you tell us a little bit about the whole, I don't know if it's a gimmick or if this is a secret part of your personality that I don't know about yet?
Well, I definitely would say we are heathens.
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both.
I think wrestling is in a very, I would say, unique place these days, where there's a lot of different styles of wrestling out there right now, a lot of different companies. You'll see a lot of like what would once be called indie style sort of go into the bigger companies or vice versa. And I think House of Heathens is just here to bring it back to what wrestling used to be, what it should be.
Yeah, SWE Fury is trying to bring back that hard-hitting Texas style of wrestling. They have a great women's division, many second-generation women's stars as well. Eddie Guerrero's daughter, now you, Terry Gordy's daughter, Lacey Von Erich, but Christy Janes is the champion. She's great. And they've really stacked their women's division up. Is there anyone in particular you would like to get in the ring with, Teal, out of the ladies division? I know you're starting off, I think, just accompanying Deimos to the ring.
Right now I think we're kind of scouting. There's obviously a lot of talented women there, but right now I kind of want to go see the show and see who I need to have my eye on.
Now, as far as your finishing moves and your in-ring style, could you both tell us a little bit about what we can expect for that?
Well, for me, I think you'll see a little bit of his style, to be honest. Obviously, you pick up a lot of what you get from your trainer. I think naturally, I just have some of my dad's quirks, so you might see some nods to that. But everything else, I'm still kind of discovering my own style. I feel like I tend to be more of a brawler than anything else. But I think it'll develop as the next year goes on. You'll kind of see me grow as an athlete.
And as far as your finishing holds, what move do the opponents have to worry about an SWE Fury if they're stepping in the ring with you guys?
Well, her, I'm sure we already know the answer to that question. My finishing move is called the Reckoning. It's comparative to Triple H's pedigree.
And I actually saw a match with you not too long ago, you against Billy Gunn. What was that like, being in the ring with him? I didn't even know that he was still doing independent dates.
Well, we did that show. We were good friends at the time, and we just wanted to have fun. It was kind of like a one-off, just having fun together and having a little match for that company, actually, that I go to the school with, which is FTW out in Largo. We always were friends. We drove around, rode around, did appearances, signings, all this stuff together, trained at the same school. So we thought it'd be fun just to have a little match. That's about it. It was fun.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Japanese style of wrestling for sure. It was almost like he was doing a stand-up comedy routine.
Yeah, we went over nothing and decided just to go out there and fill it out and have fun with it, and that's exactly what we did. So basically, that match isn't really, I guess, a serious competitive match. It's more of just two guys, two friends, just going out there and having a good time.
Now, how did you become friends with Mark Henry, and have you ever worked out with him?
Yes, a few times, actually here recently as well. When I first was around WWE environment, and I was constantly trying to figure out a way to navigate the waters or get noticed or anything, for some reason to this very day I cannot explain. He always just sought me out and kind of big brothered me, pointed me in the right direction, gave me the right advice. He was always very concerned with how I was doing or not doing, or what I could work on, whether it's in or out of the ring when it comes to myself. I give him a nod for being an instrumental character in a lot of my growing and development as a person and a character in this business.
Now, when you've been in the gym with him, what are his lifts like these days? I'm sure he's still strong. He looks like he's probably still close to 400 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big boy. Well, back when I first was around him and knew him, I mean, you're looking at a guy who I literally watched roll a frying pan up like a burrito with his bare hands. So, I mean, his strength is just unrealistic. There's no point in ever trying to compete with him in the gym or measure up to him. It's more of keep up whenever you're working out with him. He's intense, he's unforgiving, but it's because he's passionate about what he does, and in order to thrive with him, you got to be just as passionate as him. And he taught me a lot. And nowadays, he's not really the power lifter. He's more of like just taking good care of his health and taking care of himself. So our training now is more just calisthenics and mechanics and movements and stuff like that, just so we can keep our health and bodies together.
So as far as both of your training in the gym now, what would be a typical workout week for both of you as far as weights and cardio training as well as in-ring training?
We break it up. We try to do either, if it's a non-wrestling day or training day, we do heavy weights and circuit cardio or MMA training as cardio, like a hit thing. On wrestling days or training days in the ring, we do weights and then go use the ring as our cardio and hit. So it just depends on the day.
Every day is gym day.
Yeah.
Now, for both of you, I know Deimos, probably since your injury, you're not lifting as heavy, but in your physical peak, what would have been your best bench press, squat, and deadlift?
Wow. Actually, that's there's this thing called the 500 Club. So we would try to get our maxes up to where everything maxed out at 500 or up. So my max squat was 500, my max deadlift was 500, and my max bench press was 500 at one point.
Not now, though.
Not now.
That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
Now, Teal, I know your numbers aren't going to be anywhere near that. But
600.
Your dad actually was pretty jacked at one point, like around that 1985
Yeah.
era. Like he was pretty thick compared to like the 90s. He ended up getting leaner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he, you know, my whole life was him going to the gym. I remember that he was always at the gym. Every time growing up, you know, I remember him also being good about dieting when we were all eating crap food, and he would sit there with like his no sodium chicken breast, all bummed out that we were eating all the delicious stuff and he couldn't. And then when I got older and got into acting, he would be like, "Yeah, remember all those times I was trying to diet?" But yeah, he was always hitting the gym for sure every day up until the day he died. He was at the gym.
How has the move to Florida affected acting? I don't know with COVID if there was much going on in LA, but I know you were both involved.
You know, I worked one commercial actually with Rhonda, World of Warcraft. That was the only commercial or thing I've worked on since COVID hit. They had just opened back up, and the SAG restrictions were just crazy. And then I think they've shut back down even again. So it was just a lot of productions left LA, came out to Georgia, New York, Toronto, wherever they could go that they could work. So, you know, there's more happening out here right now than LA. You know, I hope later in 2021 LA regains itself, but I think right now everything's there. It's just crashed. People are fleeing. It's crazy.
People are fleeing, I think is the right
There's
term.
nothing. You're just hemorrhaging money there. It's like there's no work. Yeah.
Oh, your goddaughter just came in the room to say hi.
Hi.
Of course, for the fans that don't know, my dog Piper is named after her dad, so I guess
My god puppy.
yes, to say hi. So Deimos, you worked in Japan too. Could you tell us about your time over there?
Oof. It definitely lives up to the hype. If anybody has ever heard of what it's like to train over there or work over there, I think to them, they don't realize it's a work yet. They're very physical, very intense. Their training is off the charts. I feel like anybody who enters this business and wants to take it seriously as a performer should have a run in Japan. Kind of test yourself and test your grit. Because I always will say, if you can make it through Japan, you can make it through anything.
Did you actually do training there too, or just?
Yeah. So my deal over there was part of my contract with 01 was I had to stay at the dojo, and that I guess that was them paying my rent. Was I'd stay in one of their apartments at the dojo, and part of that was a couple times a week I'd have to go down to the classes and work out with the students and stuff like that, as well as be on the road doing shows with them. But I'm gonna tell you, man, those training classes it's like 3 hours of training just to get into the ring to start your training. So it's pretty intense. And then even on show days, like they do full, sessions and workouts and stuff in the ring as a group, as a locker room before they even let the crowd in and go over matches and stuff. Like there's always training and training and training and training over there.
How did you find the dojo or the hotel for training? Because you're so big, and I understand it's pretty small there.
Yeah, it's that was one of the hardest adjustments I had to make. Was I had to order 2 or 3 meals everywhere I went because there's such small portions. The bed was a twin size, and I'm 6'4", 280 pounds. So that was all, and also I was on the top bunk of that twin bed, so that was also interesting. The shower situation was about the size of like a Tupperware. Like it was extremely small. Like it was literally like sitting in a bucket with a hose coming out the wall, which all again it really weeds out the people who are there because they really need to be there, and the people who are there just because they want to say that they're there. So yeah, those environments, harsh as they may be, it thins out the herd of the people who deserve it.
Was it a shower situation where everyone's in there at once, like it is with the girls?
No, thank God, no, I didn't have to deal with that. But it's still, it was just so small that I'm a body guy, so like for example, I have to shave my entire body. It's very hard to do that while you're standing in a bucket. It makes it difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. Renee Michelle, who's going to be on some of the upcoming SWE Fury shows, was telling us about that too. But in hers, they had all the girls in the small room at once, and the Japanese girls were like poking her and like exploring her.
Yeah, they're
so
weird,
Teal ever goes over there.
Very weird environment. They're very open about a lot of things.
So who were some of your opponents over in Japan for the Japanese fans watching?
Oh my goodness. One of my favorite rivalries that I can remember the name of, because it's been many years, was a guy named Raideen. I guess Dylan James was his name, but Raideen is his work name over there, and he was from New Zealand, and a big boy like me, kind of had like his own version of a Sting gimmick, and it was just a lot of fun to work with him.
Did you ever have any sponsors out there? We always hear that there's these lavish sponsored dinners. And
I didn't get that many, but I did have a couple, and they pay to take you around and show you stuff and things like that. It took me a couple of months to actually understand the concept of what they were and what that was all about. Is when I first got there, like, you got to find yourself a sponsor, but they're fans. I'm like, I didn't understand that. So I had to get taught like the concept of having these people like paying you just to hang out with you, or buying your gear just so they can say they bought your gear. It's weird, but it's convenient and helpful.
Yeah, because I know 0-1, although they're one of the known promotions, they're not known as being one of the higher paying ones.
No, that's why I didn't stay. Yeah, it just wasn't worth. Because again, it's very physical draining. It's very demanding, and even though I love and appreciate the opportunity they gave me, financially they were not keeping up with what I was promised when I got there. So eventually that had to come to an end.
Teal, do you have any plans on going over to Japan if this isn't the apocalypse?
I'm sure he would love to see me go train over there. Right now I don't have any plans for that, but it's certainly not something I'd rule out for the future if Deimos was down. But right now we're just doing the indies as sort of in America, at least, as independent contractors, and seeing where we want to go with it.
Well, I think this might be a good time to ask the question for the t-shirt giveaways, because Jeremy Davis is asking if you two are a couple. Yes, fans, not only are they a couple, but they are engaged, and we are going to give away. Oh, very nice. Nice nails too, by the way.
Thank you. Well, they're kind of falling off, but thank you.
We're going to be giving away an SWE Fury t-shirt to the fan that answers this question correctly first. Just whoever wins, message greatnorthwrestling@gmail.com to claim your prize. But the question that we are going to ask is, on what show did they get engaged at? They got engaged in the ring at a particular wrestling event. What company was it, and what was the name of the show? So we'll give you guys some time to come up with the answer to that. Any plans on when the date is actually going to be set, or is this going to be something that you're going to wait for restrictions to loosen?
We're waiting for restrictions to loosen up, because we don't want to be those people that set a date and then no one gets to go, which I know 3 people that happened to this year. So, right now we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen in the world.
Yeah. Before you were saying that, is this the apocalypse? In Canada here anyways, things are getting worse as far as regulations and restrictions. I know Florida and Texas are 2 of the most open states, but how are you feeling now, Teal? Are you thinking more that this is the apocalypse, or are you thinking more that things are eventually going to change one day?
I feel like sometime early 2020, we went through a black hole and we're just like all in a different dimension right now. Like it's just everything's surreal this last year. So I don't know. If it's the apocalypse, then it's not too bad because Starbucks is still open.
Jeremy is saying, were you guys engaged at SWE Fury? No, they were not. Keep guessing, guys, to win the t-shirt. They have not actually appeared at SWE Fury yet. I'll put up the poster for the show that they're going to be on. East Texas WrestleFest, Carthage Civic Center, February the 27th. They're going to be there. And then they're going to be in Canton, Texas in March. More information will be coming in the near future about that show. For Florida, without giving away where you were engaged, have you been wrestling much in Florida? Because I know there is shows fairly regularly there.
Yeah, we have a couple places, just a very select couple places that right now we're working with that not only are handling the COVID situation responsibly, but giving us the freedom and opportunity that we want to do what we're trying to do here. As we touched on earlier with both of our careers leading into this, it's been that constant, at least with me and also with her recently. We've always been at the doorstep but never gotten through the door. And that's been my thing, is I've always been around the environments and I've always been learning from the environments, whether it was WWE, Impact, but I never have been able to really solidify myself, and as well as her. So, this time, now that we're together and we're a team, there's nowhere we can't take over.
Well, there was actually some fans that got it right, but the first two people that got it right gave the wrong answer for the name of the show. Dennis said Atomic Revolutionary Pro. So did Nick, but it was Bryson. Bryson got it right. Reindeer Game. He's the only one that said it. So Bryson, you win because you gave the full answer. So message your address to greatnorthwrestling@gmail.com, and the good people at SWE Fury are going to send you one of these. So make sure you tell me what size you are too, and we're going to be seeing these two in SWE Fury in the future. I know the competition is going to be very stiff there. Deimos, there's Charlie Haas for males. Tim Storm is the heavyweight champion. Rodney Mack is the TV champion. There's a lot of big name wrestlers coming. Lance Cade appeared on the December show. There's this new guy, the Blood Hunter, appearing now too, who Selena.
He's pretty tough. He's a pretty tough guy.
So, what do you think about the competition there?
Mark and Teddy both explained to me that my hands were going to be full when I got there, and I answered with exactly this, which is I can't wait.
Very good. And as far as your future plans, as my dog's barking in the background here, do you have a goal between, let's say WWE or AEW, or are you fairly neutral between the two?
Our goal is to make statements anywhere and everywhere we can. So I guess the ball is in their court if they have it in them to come up against us.
That's a good way of putting it. Any news, Teal, on if WOW is going to open back up, or are they still under the same restrictions?
Last I heard, they're still under restrictions. Obviously, LA is where they're based and one of the strictest places there is right now. So they're still under all of that restriction, but I know that they are eager to open back up and excited for when that happens. So they're definitely going to be coming back.
Damien says he wants to see Deimos in Dark Order.
With all due respect to Dark Order, I don't think they're ready for me.
Who would be, let's say, each of your top three opponents, if you could pick throughout any of the active wrestlers today, both Deimos and Teal?
You can go first, man.
All right. I would love to have a match with Charlotte Flair. I think any woman in this industry would love to work with someone of her caliber. Lacey Evans and Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Aim high.
Always and forever at the top of that list is going to be, my dream match would probably be with Randy Orton. I think he's the best that this business has to offer today. Maybe second would probably be AJ Styles. I think he can make anything look amazing, including me. And, you know, at the end of that list, I keep seeing somebody doing something similar to us, but not quite as good. So I think maybe if I ever made my way through NXT, I'd like my hands on Cross. But until then, he can keep my seat warm.
Very interesting. You guys kind of remind me of Cross and Scarlett in a way, for sure. Andrew Anderson, one of the SWE Fury wrestlers, is commenting on here that I guess Nikolai was his tag team partner who trained you, of course. He says he worked with you in Legends of Wrestling.
Hey, Andrew.
And Roddy managed him a bunch of times. Any thoughts on the big man? He actually broke somebody's arm on the last SWE Fury show. He broke Action Jackson's arm.
Yikes. Who broke his arm?
Andrew.
Jeez, Andrew.
Broke the guy's arm.
It's work, brother. It's work.
Yeah, I don't know if the guy's recovered or not yet, but I'm sure some revenge is going to happen. But have you been in the ring with him, or do you just know him from working on shows?
I just know him from working shows with him. He's an awesome guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's always the most entertaining person in the locker room. And he also got to be on one of my favorite shows, Gotham. So, you know, I'm very jealous of him for that. Here's your plug, Andrew. You're welcome. And I can't wait. He's actually him. And you know what else? There's another guy on the SWE show that I'm very excited to see, because I wrestled him when he first broke into this business and got an opportunity to, I guess, test him out with his trainer. It was Moonshine Mantel. I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's an awesome person. And I haven't seen him in a few years since he took off. And as I knew the moment that I had my hands on him in that ring, the first time he wrestled in North Carolina, that he was going to be something in this business, and he sure enough has made his mark. So congrats to him, and can't wait to see him.
Yeah, I believe that Moonshine Mantel is involved in a feud with Max Castellano right now in SWE Fury. And the SWE Fury show is actually on the Hannibal TV now, too. It drops every Tuesday at 8. And if people don't know who Moonshine Mantel is, they had a street fight on the last show that actually went outside of the building. So it was pretty crazy. Andrew's replying to you, Mike, here that he loves you. So I guess you have one friend in SWE for sure. He says he wants to see you against Deimos. He says
I would love that. I would love that. That'd be round 2. He owes me a rematch.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. As far as both of your Mount Rushmores of wrestling, who would you guys put as your top 4?
Well, I think there's an obvious. I would put my dad up there.
Absolutely.
Jeez. I think.
Are we talking men and women, or just men, or just women, or what are we?
It could be either. Whoever each of your top 4 all-time favorites would be.
Undertaker. Even when I was a kid, I always, loved the Undertaker.
Okay.
I think. What else I got?
That's a really hard question.
Yeah.
Because, I guess as somebody in the industry, it's hard to answer, because are we speaking about star power? Are we speaking about their in-ring work? Or, their mic skills? There's so many different things to grade off of. When it comes to star power, I guess, Hogan's and, her dad and Stone Cold, Rock.
Yeah.
That's right up there. Easy answers. They're the drawing power. when it comes to people who I think in the ring are just born to do this. There's your Shawn Michaels, again, Orton, Styles, Triple H. Those guys I think they're better in their sleep than most people are awake.
What did both of you think about the Undertaker retiring? Is this really the last time we're going to see him in the ring, or is that just one of the many wrestling retirements that happened?
I think like everything else in this business, that pro wrestlers and pro wrestling is like the mafia, where even if you're out, you're never really out. There's only one way out of this business.
Dan in Row wants to know your thoughts on AEW making Darby Allin the TV champion, being such a little guy.
The little guy's champ.
The little guy's champ.
I know Darby. I've trained with Darby. He's a nice guy. I guess it's hard to draw an opinion on him right now because he's just getting his feet wet and figuring out who he is in his business. I will say that me, amongst a lot of other people, when you first see him, you just think, what's this guy doing in the ring? He should be in the crowd. But he has forced people to recognize him and pay attention to him. So I guess it's up to him where he goes from here. But I have respect for him and the work that he's done and the things he's put his body through to get to where he's at. He's definitely earned it. But I guess we'll see what happens when it happens with him.
I think both of you may have already answered this because you've both talked about serious injuries, but somebody whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce here is wondering your worst injuries.
Worst injuries?
Ever seen while wrestling, or that he's had?
The worst injuries both of you have ever seen. Okay, so maybe you haven't answered this. What is the worst injuries you've ever seen in the ring? So maybe not that you've personally had, but that you've witnessed as well.
I think the one that will forever, I guess, whether it's the worst or not the worst, every time I hear someone saying wrestlers injured in the ring, the first exact thing that pops up in my brain is Sid Vicious. I do think that's up there in one of the worst ever, but it stands out to me as one of the most traumatizing to see live. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy in that match he had with Steiner, and it was amazing that he actually, within a few years, fully recovered. Just due to politics, he never went back into one of the major companies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always go to that match where Mick Foley fell all the way from the top of the cage twice in one match. There have been worse injuries, but I think that was pretty shocking to see and surprising that he was able to walk away from.
Yeah, he set a bad precedent there, but I'm glad he survived.
Yes.
And supposedly he also recently survived COVID. He caught it and recovered.
Oh.
So glad to hear about that.
Survivor.
Mick Foley is indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. What are your guys' thoughts on hardcore matches? Some of this stuff with like the glass and all this craziness.
You go first.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. Like, as a spectator, obviously it's exciting to watch, but at the same time, to me it goes away from wrestling. Like you have to have a line somewhere. So otherwise you might as well bring a gun in, and then who's going to win? So it's like, I think that it's important to keep the credibility of the sport itself, and sometimes those hardcore matches just go so over the top that it's unnecessary, and it's not really about wrestling, and it's just hurting people to hurt people. And I'm not really, I personally would shy away a little bit from that.
I believe that 99% of hardcore wrestling is for guys who don't know how to wrestle. It's like, I can't do, real combat. So here, let me pick up this light bulb because, when all else fails, I'll just do this to get over because I can't get over by myself.
Yeah, it's a cheap.
So I feel like it turns you from a performer to a glorified stunt guy.
Yeah, and for any hardcore wrestlers watching this, keep in mind that most of these promoters do not test their wrestlers before they engage in these crazy matches, so that opens up other dangers as well. So there's someone asking on here who the comic book fan is between you guys.
I mean, I like it. I wouldn't decorate my home with it, but I like it.
She's also a Dragon Ball Z fan now. So,
I am. He's got me on Dragon Ball Z now.
For the Marvel movies, is there any particular one that stands out to you as your favorite? The ones that Batista are in, maybe?
No. Hands down, I think the best Marvel film ever made is Logan.
So depressing.
I think
it's good, but that was so sad.
I can watch that movie 1,000 times and never be tired of watching it.
I see. So you're a big anime fan then, so you must have appreciated being in Japan even more for that reason.
You know, honestly, that's the only thing that kept me there as long as it did, is because I got a chance to hang out in J-World and, you know, see all of the anime stuff and the video game stuff. And, you know, I got to train at the Sega studios and go to Square Enix and see all their stuff. I got to meet the original voice of Goku, which was so cool.
No, it's super cool.
So, I mean, the child in me loved my times and opportunities in Japan. That's what kept me there. I mean, I even have a Vegeta tattoo.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Yep.
He's not joking around with his Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Vegeta's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I noticed you're pretty covered in tattoos, Deimos. Yes. What about Teal? Do you have many, or?
I do not have a tattoo yet. I reserve the right to get one.
I see. How many do you actually have, Deimos? Is it 100?
It's hard to say how many. It's like I just have one that just keeps growing. You know, so my thing when it comes to tattoo work is I always get work done when I overcome a huge obstacle in my life, be it an injury or a life-changing situation or something like that. So my tattoos are really just, it showcases everything I've been through and overcome in my life.
Somebody says you look like a good-looking version of Kurt Angle.
Hey, Kurt Angle's a good friend of mine. He's small, but he's a good guy. He has prettier eyes than me. His eyes are like crystals.
Have you ever been on the amateur wrestling mats with Kurt?
Not officially, you know, but you know, we're both from Pittsburgh. You know, I've known him and his wife and his family very well. They're actually moving to Florida soon too. Good guy. Rolled around a few times. You know, you can learn more in 30 seconds with him than you can in a month with someone else. You know, so like, yeah, he's a endless supply of knowledge.
Last fan question I'll ask for today. Jeremy Davis wants to know how many hours of work has been for your tattoos.
Geez, all the math. My back tattoo was 16 hours. Each section of my arm was between 4 to 6 hours, and that's about 4 sections an arm. Geez, man. I don't know, 25 to 30 hours total.
That is a lot of hours. So for people watching on here that want to follow you guys on social media to keep up with everything you're up to and see where you're wrestling next, where can they follow you?
Instagram, Teal Piper on Instagram, at RLTeal on Twitter, also on the Facebook, although I hate Facebook. I hardly ever use it, but I'm on there.
Instagram is official_Deimos. Twitter is real Deimos. More active on Instagram than Twitter, but I'm trying to make myself care about Twitter more.
Instagram's more fun. It's just photos and less bitching.
Have you wrestled in Scotland yet, Teal? I imagine you'd be.
I've never wrestled in Scotland. Obviously, that would be super cool. I would also love, one of the places on my bucket list is Winnipeg. You know, my dad kind of started up there, as well as my grandpa. He was a boxer in that area, so you know that's somewhere that I would love to wrestle as well.
Well, Danny Warren, the Winnipeg promoter from Canada here, watches this channel, so keep that in mind if we ever let America.
Winnipeg's on my bucket list.
You guys are still banned. We can go there if we fly right now, but that might change. But you guys aren't even allowed to cross
I
the
have
border.
dual citizenship. I think I can just do what I want.
Oh, of course, because I guess you automatically got it because your father born in Canada. Oh, well, that's good to know. Well, we definitely hope to have you up here in Great North Wrestling in the future, because a lot of fans have said you need to do a calendar with my dog. So if nothing else for that.
I think that is right to the top of the priority list. Super important that happens.
But to close this off, you guys are coming to SWE Fury, Carthage, Texas, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's near Shreveport, Louisiana. It's near that Louisiana border, but Terry Funk is going to be on that event. It's called the East Texas WrestleFest. It's going to be huge. Mark Henry, Jazz is going to be there, Melina, the Boogeyman, Selena De La Renta, Teddy Long, so many great stars. And then in Canton the next month. To close this off, I'll let you guys just talk about coming to SWE Fury.
Well, I mean, we're definitely very excited to come out there. We've heard nothing but great things about this promotion, and obviously you guys bring in phenomenal talent, so I'm very, very excited. Yeah,
we're excited to come there and test the waters and make a statement.
Thank you for